Hello, welcome back tuning into today's video. We're going to have a look at October and going into the start of November with the Beijing Climate Centre 500 millibar height anomalies in a moment. We're also going to have a look at the latest from Huug and Doul for the winter. Huug is an American-based weather forecaster working under the umbrella of the NOAA, the United States official meteorological agency, like their version of the UK Met Office, if you like. So have a look at that in a moment. We'll have the latest update for the winter. As I say, we're going to look at the month ahead as well with the Beijing Climate Centre. Before I get on with that, though, I just want to say about the ads. There's links to articles sitting underneath the weather video here on my homepage at galsworthviz.com. If you have a browse through the widget, you'll be able to see if there's any articles that you're interested in. They should be changing all the time, so you won't be stuck with the same article. If there's anything you're interested in, just click through. You'll be able to go off and read it when you're finished at galsworthviz.com. And at the same time, you'll be able to support the website, so thanks very much for doing that. So this is the latest radar picture from theweatherout.com. Probably a wet and windy old morning. It's been across the country. That rain is pushing off into the eastern side of the country right now. It'll be clear on the east coast by the end of the afternoon. Although, having said that, it'll hook back, I think, in towards eastern and northern Scotland later on this afternoon into the sea. It'll probably clear the east of Scotland for a time, but I think it'll come back tonight. And it does look particularly very wet indeed across the north and the east of Scotland through tonight and much of tomorrow as well. At the same time, blustery showers will come up from the southwest tonight, and it's going to be a showery few days, I think, across many parts of the country. It looks like this unsettled weather is in for quite some time now. These are the latest. This is the latest Beijing from the Beijing Climate Centre. The latest update, 500 millibar height anomaly chart, broken down into 10-day periods. So this is taking us from the 6th to the 15th of October. As ever, blue is extrapolating to low pressure and orange is extrapolating to high pressure. So we can see that for the coming 10 days up to the 15th of October, we've got this deep trough of low pressure around the British Isles. It's going to be an unsettled 10-day period. The ridge that kept us settled through most of September is up here now across to the northeast, to the north and the east of Scandinavia. We're firmly under that trough, so I think we are looking at an unsettled spell for the next week, certainly possibly the next 10 days. As we move through to the next 10-day period, taking us from the 16th to the 25th of October, still generally unsettled. We're losing the deepness of the blue colours over the country, so the trough isn't as deep. Nevertheless, it's still there. We're still more or less under below average heights, so it's still probably quite an unsettled period. What could be happening there is that we're transitioning maybe through that period from the 16th to the 25th of October. We may start off really quite unsettled, and perhaps some sort of a build of pressure is taking place to the south and to the east of the country. You wouldn't be surprised if that's what's going on there. The main time from around the 16th to say the 20th, 21st of October is normally a time when you tend to build in a brief ridge of high pressure and turn it drier and warmer for a few days through that third week of the month. So that could be something that's going on there. But overall, we're still under the below average heights, really, even going out to the 16th to the 25th of October. We get through to the next 10-day period, and it takes from the 26th of October to the 4th of November, and we're again losing the deepness of the blues. It's very subtle, but very gradually pressure is beginning to come up. So it's going to take a slow process. It can take a long time, but very, very gradually, as we're going through these charts, we're breaking out of that trough of low pressure. So as we get through towards the end of October, things could be turning more and more settled there across the country as the heights are beginning to come up. And then finally we get through to the next 10-day period, this final 10-day period as far as we can go, from the 5th of November, bonfire night, through to the 14th. And look at this, we're under a ridge of high pressure, so we've broken out over these charts, we've broken out of that very deep trough that we start off with, and by the time we get through to the middle of November, or early to mid-November, we're setting up an area of above average heights, an area of high pressure across the country. Now, the exact position of that is important because it could be cold, of course. High pressure in November can be cold if it's sat directly overhead or it's somewhere to the north or the northeast of the country. You can get quite a lot of frost and fog as well. Otherwise, if it's just to the southwest, and this does have the centre of the high actually over Ireland, it can be quite mild even in November with an area of high pressure. So the exact position is going to be crucial on that one as to whether it's a cold high or whether it's a mild high. If it's a mild high, it's probably going to fill up with anticyclonic gloom and be mild and gloomy. If it's a cold high, of course, we'll be looking at frost and fog. But it breaks us out of that very unsettled weather that we have to start off with anyway, and it does look as though on the basis of that, we start off November probably on quite a settled sort of note. It'll be interesting to see how it goes. Now, as I teased at the start of the video, we've had the update for the winter from Huug and Doul. Huug, I say, is an American-based forecaster working independently, I think, under the umbrella of NOAA in the United States. These are not model-based, these are analog-based forecasts based on sea surface temperature anomalies in any given month. So in this specific example, for this month's forecast, the sea surface temperature anomalies have come from September. Huug has looked at sea surface temperature anomalies in September, compared them to past years with a similar sea surface temperature anomaly, and then created an analog forecast of where things could develop in terms of the weather patterns as we move through into the winter and beyond. Actually, this month's update is going right out to the summer, and it's the same idea really that we've been seeing for the last few updates from Huug, which is that we've got lots of blocking with these red colours here up across Greenland, extending down in towards Newfoundland and northeastern Canada. Underneath that, and the ridge also extends to the north of Scandinavia as well, so very extensive northern blocking. Underneath all of that blocking, we've got this trough of low pressure through the central part of the Atlantic. So what we've got going on here is a negative North Atlantic oscillation. The NAO is negative. We've got blocking around Iceland instead of low pressure. We've got the trough of low pressure around the Azores instead of the Azores high. So everything is switched around from where it should be, really, the typical setup that we would tend to get in the winter, a negative NAO with lots of northern blocking. And the upshot of that is that we bring lots of cold air down in towards central parts of Europe. So when the chart clicks over, and it should do in a moment, you'll see that we've got lots of blue colours here extending out from Russia and going into Europe. Very, very cold air there. The core of the car is actually central parts of Russia, but even into Central Europe, we're looking at anomalies anything from around 2 to 3 degrees below average. So a really cold winter being predicted by Huug and Doul, as has been the case through many of these updates over the last few months. Now for us, as ever, we're on the periphery of the cold. We're over here in the right hand side of the chart, so yeah, we're on the periphery of the cold as we always are, and what we're seeing here is basically an average temperature anomaly for the winter. We're neither cold than average, we're neither warmer than average, and I think that's probably a little bit of hedging of bets maybe as to whether the Atlantic for us is just about the dominant driver or whether it's the blocking to the east. But with such cold anomalies over most of the continent, even extending into France and the Low Countries, we would at the very least get some cold blasts from the east, I think, at times, and from the north as well. It's just whether the cold is the driver or whether it's the Atlantic air that's the driver. And we can see on the precipitation forecast, finally, all these green colours in the Atlantic, that's above average rainfall, showing that the Atlantic is really stalled against that blocking up to the north and the east of the country. Notice the yellow colours around Greenland, indicative of the northern blocking up there. Also yellow colours around Scandinavia, indicative of high pressure over Scandinavia. The green colours are in the Atlantic, showing that the wetter than average anomalies are out in the Atlantic, stalled, and essentially we're looking at a battleground UK scenario there. The Atlantic will be trying to come in at times. We've got all of that cold air, that wedge of cold air, sitting to the east and the north of the country, and we'll be finding ourselves in a battle. At times the Atlantic probably breaks through to deliver milder conditions, but at times the cold air would get in on that sort of anomaly, and at the very least we'd have some pretty significant cold snaps, and of course on those battleground days it would be so as well. So it's another interesting update from Huug and Doul, to say the least. It's been an ongoing pattern that we've seen through this autumn, but we have seen, or through the last few months into the autumn, that we have seen these updates suggesting a really cold winter coming up for Russia and Europe, and the Atlantic stalled and blocked, and it's just going to be a case of whether the Atlantic gets in enough to push us to the warmer side of average for the winter, or whether the cold air keeps it at bay enough to give us a colder than average winter. But we're in a battleground there, and it's another very interesting update. So that's the longer range look ahead for today. We'll be doing a more in-depth look at the next 8 to 10 days tomorrow, so come back for that. I hope you found the video interesting. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.